and you watch
Yeah.
Donald Trump, do you ever laugh? Do you ever actually laugh?
Most of the time.
And most of the- Did you ever actually watch that Access Hollywood Billy Bush tape? Did you ever sit?
I did.
You did.
I saw it.
And at that moment, did you know that it was going to be as notable as
Yes.
it turned out to be?
Well, I didn't you?
Some stories in American public life only become clear when you pull back and look at the entire picture. They stretch across years, move through different moments, involve different entertainers and political figures, and eventually reveal a pattern so obvious that once you notice it, you cannot ignore it. This is one of those stories. What Barack Obama did to Donald Trump during a high-profile dinner in April, and what Jimmy Kimmel did years later in March, followed the exact same playbook. It was the same approach, the same form of pressure, the same effortless style of humor, delivered on completely different stages. And in both moments, the most influential person in the room found himself unable to respond. To understand why, we need to start at the beginning. Stay with me, because each piece of this story makes the larger picture even more remarkable.
Caring much about it. I figured you'd ask the question tonight, of course, but nobody was caring much about it. But I was the one that got him to produce the birth certificate, and I think I did a good job.
The background makes the entire story even more striking. Years later, Obama would reflect on those events and explain that they influenced political history in ways many people still underestimate. The story begins in Washington, D.C., inside the grand ballroom of the Hilton Hotel during the White House Correspondents' Dinner. The room was filled with reporters, politicians, celebrities, and television cameras. Beneath the chandeliers and surrounded by tables packed with influential guests, sat Donald Trump, positioned where everyone could see him. For months leading up to that evening, Trump had publicly questioned President Obama's birthplace and repeatedly fueled claims that Obama was not truly American. The controversy had dominated headlines and become one of the most discussed political stories in the country. Then Obama stepped onto the stage. Smiling comfortably, he approached the microphone and delivered what would become a masterclass in political comedy. He did not sound angry. He did not launch into a personal attack. He never raised his voice. Instead, he calmly acknowledged Trump's presence in the room and allowed the audience to anticipate what was coming next.
Trump, let's hear it tonight. Now, I know that he's taken some flack lately, but no one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing? What really happened in Roswell?
Obama casually remarked that nobody seemed happier to finally move beyond the birth certificate controversy than Donald Trump himself, because now Trump could dedicate his attention to questions he considered even more important. Obama then joked about topics such as whether the moon landing had been staged, what really happened in Roswell, and where famous music icons had disappeared. The audience erupted with laughter. The cameras immediately focused on Trump. While the room around him was roaring, he remained expressionless, sitting completely still. It was one of those rare moments when an audience collectively realized that humor had landed in a way that left no effective response. But Obama was not finished. He shifted toward Trump's television career, referencing Celebrity Apprentice and joking that Trump had demonstrated leadership by deciding to fire Gary Busey. With perfectly measured delivery, Obama suggested those were exactly the kinds of decisions that supposedly kept him awake at night. The crowd broke into another wave of laughter, while Trump remained motionless. Many observers later identified that evening as a significant turning point, yet it was only the first chapter. Years later, on a March evening during the Academy Awards, a similar scene unfolded. This time the stage was the Dolby Theater, and the person holding the microphone was Jimmy Kimmel. Somewhere far away, a man who publicly claimed he was not watching appeared to be paying very close attention. During the live broadcast, a lengthy and angry social media post appeared criticizing Kimmel's performance as host and calling for his replacement. Backstage, The message was quickly noticed. A choice had to be made: ignore it completely or show it to Kimmel. They chose the second option. When the broadcast returned, Kimmel walked back into position, looked at his phone, and calmly read the message aloud, exactly as it had been written. Millions of viewers heard the criticism directly from the person being targeted by it. Then Kimmel paused and delivered a short line that would dominate headlines before the night was over. The moment worked because the contradiction was impossible to ignore. Either a former president truly was not watching the ceremony, or he was following it closely enough to post reactions in real time. The timing made its own argument, and the audience immediately understood the point. What happened next mirrored Obama's approach almost perfectly. Kimmel never shouted. He never became emotional. He simply read the criticism and responded with one carefully delivered remark. The audience exploded with laughter. Clips of the exchange spread across social media within minutes and accumulated millions of views by the following day. The reactions that followed only drew more attention to the joke. Then another chapter arrived in September, and the story took on a more serious tone. After months of public criticism aimed at late-night television personalities, ABC removed Kimmel's show from the schedule, following a controversial monologue. The decision stunned many observers. At the end of a broadcast, Kimmel reportedly learned the news from his producer. The program had been pulled, and no detailed explanation was immediately provided. Pause on that for a moment, because what happened afterward explains why this story continues to resonate. When Kimmel eventually returned, he did not come back furious. He did not spend the entire show delivering an angry lecture. Instead, he returned using the same method that had worked years earlier for Obama: calm, controlled, and completely unshaken. He read the criticisms aloud. He delivered the jokes without rushing. He allowed the audience to decide for themselves. And the response was overwhelming. Viewers watched someone refuse to be intimidated, and they reacted accordingly. The facts remained unchanged. The record remained clear. Obama used measured humor and transformed an entire room. Kimmel used measured humor and achieved a similar result. In one case, Trump sat silently while the audience laughed around him. In the other, he continued responding publicly while drawing even more attention to the joke. Two different stages. Two different eras. One identical strategy. Both moments revealed the same lesson. Sometimes the most effective response is not anger, volume, or confrontation. Sometimes the strongest position belongs to the person who remains calm while everyone else reacts. Certain lessons are quickly forgotten. Others return years later through different people, allowing the audience to recognize a pattern they may have missed the first time. This is one of those lessons. Share this with someone who understands that composure can often be more powerful than any threat or outburst.